Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Hope all of you out there are having a phenomenal weekend. Thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And today, I always love doing these shows because we open up the floor and we take questions from some of our loyal subscribers as well as our live viewers here on the program. Drippy Sports gets us started with this. First off, I want to say the hate that you're getting must be annoying, and I feel bad for you. But about the Brenden Aiyuk trade, my take is to trade Deebo, pay Aiyuk, and work on a Brock Purdy contract during the season. Drippy Sports, honestly, I wouldn't even call it hate. I share my opinions on social media. Sometimes people love those opinions. I want to pass along my analysis. These are commentaries that I pass along on my social media pages. I'm entitled to my opinion. Other people are entitled to their opinion. If they don't like me, they can say whatever they want. But it's also important to note, never put stock in what somebody says about you who you don't know, who doesn't truly care about you, who also hides behind a keyboard, because those people oftentimes will never say anything to your face. So I truly do not let it get to me, and I really don't care. People have a difficult time deciphering what's a report and what's an opinion. They think that I'm a journalist. I used to be a journalist back in the day. I used to be a news reporter. I don't do that any longer for a reason. I think it's a slimy business from time to time, and frankly, I have no interest in doing that. From 5 years old, I've wanted to be a sports talk show host. And as far as being a sports talk show host goes, sometimes you have to share opinions that are going to ruffle some feathers, but they're my opinions. So that's my thoughts on that. I appreciate it, though, for you caring about me. You don't have to feel bad for me. As far as a Brenden Aiyuk trade, keeping him and trading away Deebo Samuel, here's how I kind of look at it. And I've said this all along. This is one of my predictions for this upcoming season, is that the Niners keep the nucleus together this year. They already got rid of Arik Armstead, but next year is when you see part of that nucleus maybe break up a little bit, where you move on from a Deebo Samuel so that you can pay Brenden Aiyuk, the younger, more productive, more durable player, and a Brock Purdy, so that you can pay a Deommodore Lenoir. You maybe move on from a Kyle Juszczyk or a George Kittle, a player of that caliber, of that popularity. Next offseason is when San Francisco might move off a player like that to clear up some money. And obviously, it comes down to how they perform in 2024. Are they bad and they need to retool, or do they get so close to winning another Super Bowl where they lose it, or do they win it? That could also change the business plans too. TFL Slayer, how much money does Brenden Aiyuk want a year? I'm not sure how much Brenden Aiyuk wants per year on an average annual value basis. I have not heard anything on that front. If I'm Aiyuk in his camp, I think the floor and the starting point is $25 million. Devontae Smith just got a new contract extension from the Philadelphia Eagles at $25 million. Deebo Samuel is at about $24 million. And you have Calvin Ridley, who's making $23 million. I think Brenden Aiyuk is a better wide receiver than Devontae Smith. I think he's a better wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. He's definitely a better wide receiver who's younger, been more durable, and more productive as compared to a player like Calvin Ridley. So my original contract projection was $25.5 million per year for Brenden Aiyuk. But after Smith got 25, Aiyuk in his camp can maybe increase that asking price to 26, 27, 27.5. Keep in mind, the salary cap's going to go up, and it's going to continue to go up because business is booming across the NFL, and the wide receiver market is going to continue to explode, and it could get reset again. It already did with Ridley, then it did again with Devontae Smith, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, all still to come. Nick Dolfer, will the 49ers' first-round pick be an offensive lineman? It could be an offensive lineman. That's the biggest need, I think, on this football team, and it's the one position group I think that's held them back from truly reaching their potential as a football unit in the biggest of games over the last couple of years. Brock Purdy was pressured 11 times in the Super Bowl by Kansas City. He was running for his life. 9 of those pressures were unblocked. The year before that, Hassan Reddick ruined your party. And the year before that, it was Aaron Donald who ended the game getting through to Jimmy Garoppolo, where he shoveled that ball to JaMychal Hasty errantly, and it went off his hands and got picked off in the NFC title game against the Rams. So offensive lineman is definitely a position of need. And what position are you going to go with? Do you want to go center? Graham Barton, Jackson Powers-Johnson, and Zach Frazier are my 3 favorite centers in this draft class. Do you want to go guard? You could move Graham Barton to guard. You could go Troy Fuatanu at guard. You could go Cooper Beebe in the second round at guard. Do you want to go tackle? Tyler Guyton, Amarius Mims have a lot of size, but they're inexperienced. Do you want to go with the more experienced player like a Kingsley Suamataia or Jordan Morgan? A lot of different routes that you could go. The good thing for San Francisco, Nick, there are good offensive linemen in this draft class at center, at guard, at offensive tackle. It's very deep this year in the 2024 draft class. Even in round 2, you can get a high-quality offensive tackle, maybe like a Roger Rosengarten if he falls. That crazed Niners fan, what do you think of Javon Bullard? Javon Bullard's a good player. Unlike Kalen Bullock out of USC, he's a little bit bigger as compared to him. I have about a second round, third round grade on Bullard. He's 5'10", a $198, certainly packs a punch with that size. There was a legendary quote from Kirby Smart where he described his hitting ability like a little stick of dynamite. He ran a 4.47 40-yard dash, so he's got some good quickness there at that safety spot. He can be a box run defender. The issue, though, San Francisco has 2 of those safeties, and Jair Brown, Talanoa Hufanga. High football IQ. His coaches in high school said this guy's going to be a coach at some point. Hard guy to keep blocked. Again, that's around the line of scrimmage. The questions are, can he thrive at that safety spot playing downfield? He did have 12 pass breakups and 4 interceptions combined over the last 2 years. It is the offseason, but you can continue to support your Niners, and you can continue to support this channel here on the 49ers Report with these SAN-FRAN-CISCO shirts available right now. Chatsports.com/SF goes a long way in supporting the show, but then you take to the streets and people are like, oh, okay, go Niners. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Michael Catanzaro, hopefully I pronounced that right, my man. If I didn't, I apologize, brother. Trading Brenden Aiyuk to Pittsburgh for pick number 20, and then you package 20 and 31 to move up. Who would you like the Niners to go after? Very good question, because that is completely realistic, where you could package 20 and 31 to move up even further. And does that get you to 12, to the Denver Broncos? And the Broncos don't have a second-round pick, so then they get 20 and 31. 31 is a de facto second-round selection. They're a rebuilding team. They're looking to stack up their roster with some good players. Let's say you get to 12. Do you take Quinion Mitchell, the cornerback? Does Joe Alt fall? Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State? Do you decide to go Talis Fuanga, the offensive tackle out of Oregon State? Do you go Troy Fuatanu out of Washington? Is that why John Lynch and Chris Forrester went to scout some Washington pro prospects last weekend? Jared Verse could be a possibility there, the edge rusher out of Florida State, but I'm not sure the Niners would go that position then. Do you really like some of the other offensive linemen? Yeah, DB, offensive lineman, edge rusher, defensive tackle is too early for a pick like number 12, but you could easily go best player available there for sure. Or do you go wide receiver? Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas, A.D. Mitchell. Those could be possibilities at number 12 too to replace Brenden Aiyuk. Lawrence Moore, if Thomas or Mitchell is still available, could you see us bundling picks and moving up to grab them? Yeah, I just talked about both of them. Brian Thomas, Adonai Mitchell. I like both of them a lot. Brian Thomas has a lot of size, a lot of speed, really strong hands, really popped on tape, fell under the radar a little bit because he's playing alongside Malik Neighbors. One of my draft crushes is A.D. Mitchell. I like the size and the speed component. I like the route tree. I like the big-time playing ability. I think he could be a better player at the pro level as compared to the college level. Jeremiah Grady. Trading up for them, though, I'm not sure I'd do that. Jeremiah Grady, what running back do you think that we'll draft? The running back that I like is Blake Corum, but I don't know if I'd go with him in round 3, and I don't think he's going to be available in round 4. So I like Blake Corum. Some of the other running backs, it's definitely a weak running back class. Jonathan Brooks is probably a 3rd rounder. Trey Benson out of Florida State is a good player. I like Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. 4.46 40-yard dash, some receiving ability. I think he's really elusive. Will Shipley out of Clemson, if you want a poor man's Christian McCaffrey. Isaac Guerendo in the later rounds. He's a 4.3 40-yard dash guy at 6 foot 221. Rasheen Ali, Marshall, Dylan Johnson out of Washington. Those are all late rounders there. Kamani Vidal is a very good pass blocking back out of Troy. A lot of different options. Wet Noodle 187. What son or brother is going to have the better career? Good question here. Brendan Rice, Frank Gore Jr., Luke McCaffrey. If I could put it in order, I'd go Brendan Rice, Luke McCaffrey, and then Gore. I think Brendan Rice is a 3rd-round pick. Maybe a team reaches on him in the 2nd because of the bloodlines there, but I think he's a 3rd-round pick. I think McCaffrey's a 4th or 5th rounder. Gore is probably a late rounder who's going to be a priority free agent. On Dane Brugler's big board for his running backs, he has him listed as a priority free agent after the draft and not getting drafted. He ran a 4.7 40-yard dash at his pro day. It's not ideal. He did not run at the NFL Combine. And he's smaller. He's 5'7", but 198 pounds. But Frank Gore was slept on too. Ended up being who I think is going to be a Hall of Famer, 3rd all-time in rushing yards. That crazed Niners fan. Last question here. I think I'm biased because this is my school, but I really want Darius Robinson from Mizzou. Darius Robinson's an interesting player. He could play on the edge. He can maybe be a hybrid player who plays on the outside but then slides to the interior like a Charles Omenihu or an Arden Key. Very good sack production this past year. I think he's a fringe round 1, maybe a round 2 player depending on how teams have him graded. But you're right. You're not just biased. He's a good player. Make sure you subscribe to us here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. If you're watching us here on Thursday, I'll be joining Grant Cohn on his show at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, 4:15 p.m. Pacific. That's about to go down here on this Thursday. If you're watching this after the fact, go back and check that out. Support both of us as content creators.